The airplane was almost full. Passengers were placing their bags in the overhead bins. Some were reading, some talking, and some just waiting. A young girl named Anaya quietly walked in. She had a small backpack and wore simple clothes. Her eyes looked tired, but there was calmness on her face. She found her seat near the window. As she sat down, an old woman beside her smiled and said, "First time flying, dear?" Anaya nodded and replied, "Yes, it's my first time." The moment she spoke, the old woman's smile froze. Her voice was different. It was deep and a little rough. It didn't match her young face. From the front row, a small boy turned around and pointed at her. "Why do you sound like a robot?" he shouted, laughing. His mother tried to hush him, but others had already heard. People nearby looked at Anaya and started whispering, "Is that really her voice? Maybe she's joking." "No, I heard it too. So weird." A young man from the next row pulled out his phone and pretended to scroll, but he kept recording her. A flight attendant came over and asked Anaya to wear her seatbelt. Anaya said politely, "Yes, I will." The attendant blinked, surprised by her voice. She turned to another crew member and whispered, "Did you hear that girl's voice? It's so strange." Anaya heard it all. She looked out of the window, pretending not to care, but deep inside, her heart was heavy. She had heard these words many times before. They always laughed at her voice. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, and just like that, her mind went back to her childhood. She was 7 years old. It was her first time on stage. The teacher had asked her to say a line for the school play. When she spoke, the hall was filled with laughter. "What's wrong with your voice? Why do you sound like a man?" Even the teacher smiled awkwardly and said, "Maybe next time we try something else." Anaya ran off the stage, crying. That day, she decided she would never speak in public again. Years passed. In school, she never raised her hand. She only nodded or shook her head when teachers asked questions. At home, she stayed in her room. She avoided talking to people, but there was one thing she loved more than anything: music. She would sit in her room, put on her headphones, and sing softly. When she sang alone, she felt free. Her voice still sounded different, but it had something strong and powerful. She started recording songs on her old phone. Then, one day, she made a fake name and uploaded a song online, just for fun. She thought no one would care. But the next morning, her video had 10,000 views, and then $100,000. People were writing in the comments, "Her voice is so deep. I love it. I've never heard a voice like this before. She sounds like she's telling a story with every note." Anaya couldn't believe it. The same voice that made people laugh in real life was being loved online. But she never told anyone it was her. Not her parents, not her friends. It was her secret world. Back on the plane, the flight was ready to take off. The captain's voice came on the speaker. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. We'll be flying for 2 hours today. Please fasten your seatbelts." Anaya looked outside again. The sky was blue. Clouds floated like cotton. But her thoughts were cloudy. She felt small. She felt judged. Just then, a message came to the captain. From the airport, it was a private note. The message said, "Passenger Anaya Malik is on board. Please treat her with respect. She is a special guest. More information will be shared after takeoff." The captain looked confused. "Anaya Malik," he repeated. That name sounds familiar. He opened a music app and typed in the name of a trending mystery singer, someone who had never shown her face, but whose voice had taken the internet by storm. As the captain played a song, his eyes widened. It was her, the same voice, the same deep, beautiful tone. He looked up at the passenger list. Yes, it was her. The airplane flew high above the clouds. Passengers were relaxed now. Some were watching movies, some reading books, but the captain kept looking at one name on the passenger list, Anaya Malik. He played the song again in his headset, the one that went viral. That deep voice, that emotion, that name. He looked back at the message from the airport. Treat her with care. She is special. But who was she, really? Down in seat 17A, Anaya was still silent. She looked out of the window and watched the clouds pass by. Her eyes were calm, but inside, her heart was full of old memories. Flashback. 3 years ago. Anaya sat on her bed, holding her phone. She had just uploaded her first song online using a fake name, Naya Voice. She never showed her face in the videos. Only a black screen with her voice playing in the background. That night, she slept thinking, no one will notice. It's just one song. But the next morning, her phone had over 50 missed notifications. Your voice gave me goosebumps. I cried listening to this. Who are you? Show us your face. Anaya was shocked. Her eyes filled with tears. For the first time in her life, someone loved her voice. But she was scared. If they find out it's me, she thought, they will laugh again. So she decided, no one should know, not even her family. Every night she recorded songs. Soft songs, sad songs, songs of hope. She poured her feelings into her music. And every week, more people listened. Her followers grew from 1,000 to 10,000, then to 1 million. People kept guessing who the mystery singer was. Maybe she's from Europe. Maybe she's a famous artist, using a new name. But why doesn't she show her face? Only Anaya knew the truth. She was just a quiet girl, with a different voice. But everything changed one winter evening. Anaya came home from college. Her father looked worried. Your mother is not well, he said. Anaya rushed to the hospital. Her mother was weak and couldn't speak much. The doctor said, she needs rest. And maybe some comfort. Anaya sat beside her and held her hand. Do you remember when I used to sing for you, Mama? She whispered. Her mother smiled weakly and nodded. And then, Anaya sang, softly, slowly. From the heart, a nurse passing by stopped. Another nurse joined her. They stood quietly, listening. Anaya's voice filled the hospital room with emotion. Her mother closed her eyes and smiled. What Anaya didn't know, one nurse had recorded that moment. Later that night, the video was posted online. The internet exploded. That voice again. It's her. But who is she? This time there's a face. Zoom in. She's not a mystery anymore. People compared the voice in the hospital to the songs of Naya Voice, and they matched. Fans began sharing the video with one question. Is this the real Naya Voice? Anaya was scared. Her secret world was breaking. She deleted her accounts. She stopped uploading songs. She didn't tell anyone. But the news had already reached the music world. A famous singer named Zayan Khan saw the video. He sent a message to his manager. Find this girl. I want her to perform at my concert next month. Back on the plane, Anaya didn't know what was coming. She didn't know about the people searching for her. She didn't know the captain was now fully sure. The girl in seat 17A was the mystery, voice that had touched millions. Anaya's hands shook as she took the small note from the flight attendant. Someone wants to meet you after this flight. He says your voice changed his life. Anaya's heart beat faster. Who is it? She asked, her voice soft. The flight attendant smiled. He didn't give a name, but he's a very famous singer. You'll know soon. Anaya nodded slowly. Her fingers held the paper tightly. She looked out of the window again. Her heart was full of fear and memories. Flashback. Just a few months earlier, Anaya sat beside her mother in a small hospital room. Her mother had always been her strength, the only one who didn't laugh at her voice. When she was little, her mother would say, "You have a special gift. One day, the world will listen to you." But now, her mother lay in bed, weak and quiet. The doctors had said, "She needs hope, something to lift her spirit." Anaya sat beside her and whispered, "Mama, can I sing for you?" Her mother gave a tiny smile and blinked once, her way of saying yes. Anaya held her hand and closed her eyes. And then she sang, not too loud, just soft and slow. Her deep voice filled the room with love. She sang a song her mother used to hum when Anaya was a child. The words were simple, but the feeling was strong. Outside the room, a nurse passing by stopped. Another joined, and then another. They stood silently, listening to the girl whose voice touched the soul. One nurse took out her phone. She didn't mean any harm. She just wanted to capture the beauty of the moment. She recorded a short video and posted it online with the caption, "A daughter sings to save her mother. The most beautiful voice I've ever heard." Anaya had no idea. She was only thinking of her mother. After the song, her mother opened her eyes slowly. A tear rolled down her cheek. She squeezed Anaya's hand gently and whispered, "Thank you." That was the last full sentence her mother spoke. The next morning, Anaya's phone was full of messages. She opened it and froze. Her singing video was everywhere. People were tagging her name. News channels were playing it. Blogs were writing about the mystery voice girl found in hospital. Comments poured in. "This is the girl we've been searching for. She's not just a voice. She's a story." Her voice healed her mother. It healed me too. Anaya sat still. She felt happy, scared, proud, and confused. Part of her wanted to hide, but part of her wanted to step into the light. That evening, she received a message on her secret email. It was from someone named Zion Khan, a famous singer she had admired for years. "Dear Anaya, I saw your video. Your voice moved me deeply. I'd like to invite you to sing at my next concert. No pressure, just think about it." Zion, she, didn't reply for 2. As Anaya stepped out of the plane, the sunlight touched her face. She took a deep breath. She was nervous, very nervous. She looked around the busy airport, and then she saw him. A tall man stood near the gate, wearing sunglasses. But Anaya knew that face. It was Zion Khan, the famous singer millions loved. Her heart skipped a beat. He walked towards her with a smile. He removed his glasses and said softly, "You're even braver than I thought." Anaya didn't know what to say. She just looked at him, shocked and unsure. "Don't worry," Zion said. "You don't have to speak. Let's go somewhere quiet." They sat in a VIP lounge away from the crowd. A warm cup of tea sat between them. Zion leaned forward and said, "I've listened to your songs, every one of them. Your voice, it's more than music. It's a story, a feeling, a gift." Anaya looked down. "But my voice, people laugh at it. They always have." Zion smiled gently. "Let me tell you something. When I was young, people said I sang like a girl. They laughed too. But look where I am now." Anaya looked into his eyes. For the first time, she saw understanding, not pity. He continued, "The world doesn't always accept what's different, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. Your voice is special, and the world is finally ready to hear it." He pulled out a small invitation card from his bag and placed it on the table. It said, "Live concert, Zion Khan, with special guest, Naya Voice. Next Friday, 7 p.m. Grand music." Whole Anaya gasped. You want me to sing on stage? Zayan nodded. Only if you want to. No pressure. But I believe you are ready. Anaya's hands shook as she picked up the card. Her mind raced with fear. What if I mess up? What if they laugh again? What if I disappoint everyone? But then, her mother's weak smile came to her mind, her voice, her words. One day, the world will listen to you. Anaya looked at Zayan and said softly, Okay, I'll do it. The next few days passed quickly. Anaya stayed in a small guest house near the city. Each morning, she practiced with Zayan's music team. Her voice was still different, deep and bold. But when she sang, people stopped to listen. The musicians looked at her with surprise and respect. She sings with feeling, one said. She doesn't just sing notes, she sings truth. Another added. Anaya began to feel a small light grow inside her. It wasn't confidence yet, but it was hope. One evening during practice, Zayan sat beside her. I want you to sing one song alone, he said. Just you, the mic, and your story. Anaya's eyes widened. Alone? In front of thousands? Zayan smiled. Yes, because it's time. He handed her a new song, one she had never seen before. It was titled, The Voice They Tried to Break. Anaya read the lyrics. Every word felt like it was written just for her. She took the mic, closed her eyes, and began to sing. The room fell. Silent. Her voice was strong, full of pain and power. Her deep tone filled the studio like thunder, but soft thunder, full of emotion. By the end of the song, one of the crew members wiped away a tear. Another clapped slowly, then faster. Even Zayan stood up and said, That's the voice the world has been waiting for. Back at the hospital, Anaya's mother lay resting. A nurse played one of Anaya's new songs beside her bed. The heart monitor showed a slight rise. Her lips moved. Even in her sleep, she could still feel her daughter's voice. Concert night, the lights were bright, the crowd was huge. People held signs. Some read Naya voice. Others said, Who is the mystery girl? Backstage, Anaya stood behind the curtain, shaking. Zayan came to her and placed a hand on her shoulder. Are you ready? She nodded slowly. I think. I am. The lights hit her face. Anaya stood still. Her heart beat so fast, she thought. Everyone could hear it. Thousands of people sat in front of her. Big screens showed her face. Cameras flashed. For a moment, she felt like running back. What am I doing here? I'm just a girl who hid behind a screen. What if they laugh again? But then, she remembered her mother's smile, Zayan's words, and her own promise. She took one deep breath and stepped toward the mic. The crowd was silent. You could hear a pin drop. Then the music began. Soft piano notes, slow and emotional. Anaya closed her eyes and sang. Her voice was deep, strong, and full of feeling. The lyrics told her story. They laughed at my voice, said I'd never belong, but I turned every tear into the words of a song. People in the front row stared with wide eyes. Some covered their mouths in surprise. Others wiped their tears. Even those who didn't know her name felt something they couldn't explain. It wasn't just a song. It was her heart. It was truth. Backstage, Zayan watched quietly. He smiled and whispered, She's not hiding anymore. Anaya kept singing. As the music grew louder, her voice rose higher, still deep, but now full of power. I don't need to sound the same. I was born to stand apart. I carry pain in my voice, and I sing it from the heart. People stood up, one by one. The crowd rose to their feet. They weren't just listening. They were feeling. By the end of the song, the entire hall stood in silence. Then, clapping, loud, strong, never ending. People chanted her name. Naya, Naya, Naya. Tears filled Anaya's eyes. She looked up, as if talking to the sky, and whispered, "This is for you, Mama." After her performance, Zayn walked on stage and hugged her. "She is not just a singer," he said into the mic. "She is a storm, a gift, a voice the world needs." Anaya smiled shyly and waved at the crowd. That moment changed everything. Social media exploded that night. "Who is this girl with the golden voice? I've never cried during a song before. This one broke me. Her voice is different, and I love it." Clips of her singing went viral. Again, but this time her face was known. She was no longer the mystery girl. She was Anaya Malik, also known as Naya Voice. Back at the hospital, a nurse showed the concert video to Anaya's mother. Her mother's eyes opened slowly. Her weak lips moved. She whispered, "My girl, she did it." A single tear ran down her cheek. Later that week, Anaya sat in a garden outside the hospital, holding her guitar. She had just come from visiting her mother. Zayn walked in with an envelope in his hand. "What's that?" Anaya asked. He smiled and handed it to her. It was a letter from a big international music label. Inside was an offer. "We want to sign you. The world needs to hear your voice." Anaya looked up, surprised. "I never thought something like this would happen to me." Zayn smiled. "That's the thing about dreams. They find you when you least expect them." Anaya sat alone on the bench outside the hospital. The sun was setting, painting the sky with orange and pink. Her phone buzzed again. She stared at the message that had shaken her. "I'm the girl who laughed at you in school. I saw your video, and I have something to confess." Anaya's hands trembled. She knew who it was. Sana, the popular girl from school, the leader of the group that always made fun of her. "Why do you talk like a boy? Don't sing. You'll break the mic. We should record her voice and turn it into a scary ringtone." Anaya could still hear those cruel words in her head. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "Then," she replied, "what do you want, Sana?" A few minutes later, her phone rang. Anaya didn't want to pick up, but something inside her said, "Face it. Don't run," she answered. "Sana?" she said, her voice calm. There was a pause. Then came a shaky voice. "Anaya, I don't expect you to forgive me. I needed to tell you something." Anaya said nothing. She listened. Sana continued, "We were kids, but I knew what I was doing. I left because I was jealous. You always had something special, and I didn't." Anaya looked down. She thought of all the years she stayed quiet, hid her voice, lost her confidence, all because of the fear Sana had planted. Sana's voice broke as she spoke again. "I saw your video. I cried. I couldn't stop crying. You were beautiful. You were brave. And all I could think was, I tried to destroy that voice." Anaya felt a lump in her throat. She didn't know what to say. Sana whispered, "I don't deserve a reply. I just wanted you to know. I'm sorry." Then the call ended. Anaya sat there, frozen. For a moment, she felt the old pain coming back, the laughter, the shame. But then, she smiled, because this time the pain didn't win. Later that night, Anaya opened her laptop. She went live on her channel. Thousands of people joined within minutes. She looked into the camera, nervous but ready. "I want to tell you all a story," she said. "There was a girl who was laughed at for her voice. She stopped singing for years. But today, that same girl forgives those who laughed." The comments flooded in. "You're a queen." "Tears in my eyes." "Thank you for sharing." Your heart is as beautiful as your voice. Then, Anaya did something no one expected. She played a new song, a song she had just written. After the call, the title, the apology. Her voice, soft and deep, filled the stream. She sang about pain, about healing, about letting go, and once again, thousands of people cried with her. Meanwhile, in a small room far away, Sana watched the live stream. Tears rolled down her face. She held her phone tightly and whispered. She turned my hate into hope. 2 days later, Anaya got a call from the music label. Your new song is trending in 12 countries. We want to release your first album. And there's one more thing. What is it? Anaya asked. The manager replied, there's a big international show. They want you as the closing act. Anaya's eyes widened. Closing act? That's the biggest performance slot. The manager smiled. Yes, the world is waiting, Anaya. Are you ready? Anaya looked up. She thought about her mother, Zayan, Sana, the girl she used to be. Then she said softly, yes, I'm ready. The hospital room was full of noise. The heart monitor beeped wildly. Doctors and nurses rushed in. Anaya stood frozen outside the door, her hand over her mouth. Mama? What's happening? Please, don't take her from me. Tears streamed down her face. Inside, her mother's body was still. Machines worked hard to keep her alive. A nurse gently pulled Anaya aside. We're doing our best. Please stay strong. Anaya sat in the hallway. She felt helpless. Her heart broke into pieces. Just hours ago, she was ready to share her dream with her mother. Now, she didn't even know if her mother could hear her again. After what felt like forever, the doctor came out. Anaya jumped up. The doctor gave a small, tired smile. She's stable now, but very weak. She may not speak, but she can still hear. Anaya felt her legs shake with relief. She rushed into the room. Her mother's eyes were closed, but her hand was warm. Anaya sat beside her, took her hand gently, and whispered, I know you're tired, but I need you to hear this. This is our song, the one that came from all your love. She pulled out her phone and played the final song she had just recorded. It was called The Song That Saved Me. Her voice filled the room, slow, deep, full of tears and hope. The lyrics told her story, and her mother's story. When the world turned away, you stood beside me. When I lost my voice, you still believed in me. Anaya held her mother's hand tighter. She closed her eyes and sang along with the song. This voice was shaped by pain, but guided by your light. Mama, your strength became my wings that taught me how to fight. A tear slowly slid down her mother's cheek. Anaya gasped. She leaned close and whispered, Mama, I know you hear me. Please, stay. Just a little longer. And then her mother's fingers moved. Slowly, softly. She squeezed Anaya's hand. Anaya cried like never before. Tears of love, of relief, of miracles. 1 month later, the stadium was full. It was the biggest night of Anaya's life. She stood backstage, wearing a simple white dress. No flashy lights, no makeup, just her guitar, and her voice. Zayan walked up to her and smiled. Everything you've been through brought you here. Anaya nodded. But this isn't just for me. It's for every person who was ever laughed at, who ever felt small, who ever stayed quiet because they were scared. She stepped onto the stage. Thousands of lights blinked in the crowd. She looked out and smiled. The announcer spoke. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the voice that changed everything. Anaya Malik, Naya Voice. The music started. The crowd cheered, and she sang. This time there was no fear, no doubt, only truth and love. As she sang the final note, The crowd stood up, clapping, crying, cheering, and in the front row sat her mother in a wheelchair, weak but smiling, tears in her eyes. Anaya saw her, and her voice grew even stronger. The world didn't just listen that night. They remembered. They healed. They stood up for every person who had ever been laughed at for being different.